Okay, I held off on recording this message for a long time. Even though these logs are meant for my eyes only, a part of me knows that information is never truly secure. And what I'm about to say is a secret that might not be mine to tell. But for the sake of documenting all of this, I've decided to record here what I know. And what I know is this. Back in the early 90s, during Project Waratah, Stein Lightman died. We were doing experiments involving remote participation and what we would eventually call XM. And there was an accident. For a few moments, I was beside myself with grief and guilt. But then a copy of Lightman formed, seemingly out of midair. And believe me, this new Lightman was as confused as I was, because his dead body was still lying on the lab floor. At the time, we had no idea what happened. What we now know is that during the experiment, we accidentally stored Lightman's pattern in the XM substrate. And the Lightman that appeared out of thin air, that was an XM simulacrum. Lightman and I decided to keep this a secret, even from the NIA. We hid his body in the casket of the Halicarnassus and continued on with our research like nothing had happened. Of course, if you're watching this, you already know how simulacra work. Every 1,331 days, they expire and recurse. And the new simulacrum has none of the memories of the ones that preceded it. But the other weird thing is that when simulacra recurse, they come out the same age as when they originally died. So over a long enough timeline, it gets difficult to explain why your colleague never seems to get any older. But Lightman and I came up with a way to keep his situation a secret. Every 10 years or so, just when Lightman's perpetual youth would begin to strain credulity, we'd send him into exile for a while. We forged records of a marriage and eventually a birth certificate, Stein Lightman II. And when the fictional Lightman Jr. would have been in his mid-20s, we unleashed Lightman's latest simulacrum back into the world. As far as the world is concerned, the Lightman genes produce a long line of nearly identical offspring. But in reality, every few decades, Lightman assumes the identity of his own descendant.